Around last time you played, it was in support of your LP Bites, but now you have a new LP out and also a new distribution deal through Capitol. Can you give a little background on that and what it's like to actually be found in record stores now and things like that?
It's nice to be found in record stores now. It seems like Capitol. I think Capitol has developed more or less an alternative side to what they're doing, which is good. I mean, they've kind of specialized in that area. Which is good, and it's really been helpful for us because obviously, you know, the promotion on us has been a little better, although we still have to keep it a little mysterious within that context.
Yeah.
But the last tour was really hard on us because all bands have to go through one tour that's just a complete dirge, a complete sleeping on floors and things like that. So the way it has developed, you know, I haven't really noticed it that much until it actually hits you in the face and you see that a lot of people are taking interest in what you're doing. Because we've never really changed for anybody, you know, changed to try and get anything or anything like that. We've always kind of maintained our own ideals and our own way of presenting our work, our own way of writing music. You know? So I mean, you don't really notice those kind of things until they actually happen. Like we were in Europe when we found out we had this American deal, and then the American deal got a German deal and a Sweden deal as well.
Right. Now you're a band out of Canada. What part of Canada?
Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Yeah, on the west coast.
Right, and what kind of scene is happening there? I know I've got friends in Seattle, and they have mentioned that Network is a very interesting label because it does.
It's quite eclectic.
Yeah, it is a network between record stores and things like that. Can you explain a little bit about Network and maybe, you know, give us a clue to what some other bands are on that label in case people are interested?
Yeah, sure. The great thing about Network is that it was formed approximately the same time that we were formed. So we've seen them, you know, grow as well. And it started, you know, with just basically with a lot of people, right down from engineers to musicians to people within the business who were into putting in their time and trying to get records out. That was the main concern, not making money, not doing any of that, just getting the records out and getting them distributed to different places and making contacts with people. And it just carried on from there with you know, some really good organization. I mean, you know, we've all made mistakes along the way as well, but it's just you know, as well as packaging and things like that, which is very important, especially for local music. Because the problem with Vancouver in the past was that local musicians wouldn't really package the product well enough, and we've always taken quite good care in packaging the product. So it is you know, a lot less. I mean, you can really tell some local bands because the covers look local, and it not really turns people off. So if you take a little more of an artistic approach to the covers and make them a little more international in their appeal, then it seems to do better. It stands out. I mean, people want to rack it then, you know.
Yeah. Okay, now getting back to talking about the band, you guys started in 1983 with just Kevin and yourself. Where did you get? What kind of background did you have in order to form, you know, Skinny Puppy? It has a very industrial sound. You know, first thing that comes to my mind is like Eins, Der Zeta, Neubauten and things like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were all really into listening to music prior to this, of course. And it comes from that, but the band wasn't developed on the basis of trying to really emulate other people's sounds or anything like that. It was formed more out of you know, a lot of personal crises. Actually, I was going through a real kind of destructive time in my life, and it really worked well with the type of music that Kevin, who was working in another band at the time, which was very superficial. You know what I mean? So bands that are very superficial. This kind of, you know, really formulated bands at the time, and he was signed to a different label, and he just wasn't enjoying what he was doing. So this turned into his rebellion against that.
Yeah.
And it just worked really well together. It wasn't really started to come to this point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a start, and we just kept at it. Like we funded our first EP because Network was a start, and they took interest in us.
Yeah.
And we finished recording it with our own money, and they pressed it. And then, you know, it just starts to snowball from there once you get interest. And we didn't perform live until after the album was out, for the reason that we didn't want to really attract people that were just coming out because, you know, the name Skinny Puppy, you know, be some kids band or something like that.
Is it hard to present the type of music you make live on stage, or I'm sure there's some people out there that are interested in the type of you know, electronics that you use and other instruments that you use when you do perform live or recording.
So you want to know what kind of instruments we use?
Yeah.
Well, we use a variety of instruments. We use, you know, right from live drums. Unfortunately, we're not going to be using live drums tonight because we only have a 16-channel board. To sampling Mirages, which are sampling keyboards, and DX7 Pro 1, which is kind of a little monophonic sequencer, to guitar, to process vocals. The vocals are processed through a digital delay as well. So it's just kind of a mesh of technology, you know, with this real primitive kind of primal ritual that goes along with it.
Yeah. So when you go into the studio, do you find that you can incorporate a lot more, because there seems to be, you know, especially in the new album, a lot of tapes going in terms of like voices from other things and various sources. My question is, are those reproduced live on stage, and also where do you know, get a lot of the you know, noises and voices that come through on your records?
Well, this found voices from television. I mean, you'll be watching television, you'll be watching movies on video, and you'll hear something that's taken in one context, and you can remove it and isolate it and put it in a different context within our music, and it has a different meaning because of our kind of twisted sense of humor, in a sense.
Yeah. And
so, I mean, we find from that, as far as producing it live, I mean, the problem with any electronic band is that it's very complex to produce everything completely live.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I mean, because things are processed so much and things have a lot of effect on them, because it isn't as much song structure. Although we do maintain a lot of sound structure, some other bands don't, and song structure, but we're more into sculpting sound. So you really spend time on finding different sounds, like kick drum sounds, snare sounds, and things like that. So those things can't really be produced live, although when we do use live drums, we use them more to accent, and as well, during our live performance, we have times, quite a few times, where we just improv, you know, in between songs, in between the standard songs. Each night we more or less jam on stage, which is, you know, the most fun for us in a lot of times, because it's just creating something from nothing, and that's all completely live. So there's kind of a balance of the two, and you know, as time progresses, if time progresses for us, and you know, we can keep doing this, and we have more funds to do it, you know, because it is a very expensive thing to do. We'll use less and less of that tape, but for now we just have things like drums and a few sequences on tape.
And as we were talking earlier, Skinny Puppy is a three-piece band, right?
Yes.
And you just recently added a new member?
Yeah, we dropped a member who's a really good friend of mine. He can't really tour. He's stuck with a girlfriend in Vancouver, so he can't really tour with us. And so we picked up Dwayne, who's in a band in Edmonton. He's a very competent keyboard player, and then he's actually added a different dimension to the music as well. He plays on the new album. He's written part of the new album, as well as Chainsaw, the new single, which hasn't been released yet. We have to go back and work on it again. So he's added a different dimension to the band, and I think we'll always do that. I mean, the main core will always remain myself and Seven Key, but we'll always have these outside influences coming in, which is important as well. I mean, it's important to have outside influences.
Right. Do you find yourself trying to come up with dance music, or is it just music that is reflective of you know, what you're feeling, or
well, it's very much quite reflective of what we're feeling. Like I've always said that our music is based on experience, you know, raw experience and things like that. I mean, you can't really do something that you've contrived. I don't believe in that, because it's just fiction. It's not really true. It doesn't really have any meaning. It wouldn't have any meaning to me, because I've just made it up. as opposed to experiencing something and telling about it, and then it really hits home. It really bites, in a sense. And as far as the dance beats, I mean, we've always liked rhythm and playing with rhythm. And the only one formulated step we've taken in this is that, I mean, you have two ways to go in all this. You can either try and affect AM radio, in that sense, or you can try and affect the dance floor. And I'd really rather try and affect the dance floor and get people moving to the music and things like that, as well as listening to the music. But the problem with dance floor is that usually people are so pissed that they don't really listen to what you're trying to say in the music. So. Yeah,
I can relate to that.
But I personally like rhythm. I mean, I like rhythm. I like that type of. I mean, it isn't as much disco. Our music isn't disco in any sense of the word.
Would you say it's kind of tribal?
The actual rhythms.
Yeah.
I don't think I said that. It's not really tribal. It's just Kevin is a drummer, and so he can. The one thing that he tries to do when using a drum machine usually is program it in a way that a drummer couldn't play, because he knows how to play drums. He knows what can be played, and so you try and program a drum machine usually to do things that a drummer can't humanly do.
Also, is on this new album, there's one song that I noticed that had almost like Gregorian chants going through it. And is there any type of religious significance to anything, or is it just
when you see the show tonight, during that very part, you'll see the religious significance.
Okay.
That's the best I can really tell you about that. Yeah, there is. I mean, I'm constantly questioning that whole thing within myself. The one thing about our live show is that we aren't really out to really make any statements, to really make any this is the way it is, this is the way it should be, because I'm against that, because that's what's happening around us right now. By our leaders and our deities and the people we look up to, as it is. And so what we rather try and do is just create imagery that can be interpreted by different people in different ways. Some people think it's pretentious trash, and garbage, and it has no meaning. Other people are moved by it very deeply. But at least they're making up their own minds.
Yeah. Now, I've never actually been to a Skinny Puppy show yet. Tonight will be my first. But talking to people and getting their opinions and them telling me what happens, could you describe a little bit about some of the things that other things that go on during a live show? I mean, I've heard everything from where you cut yourself, and somebody told me like at one of your first shows, you planned somebody in the audience to come up and shoot you.
Yeah, I was electrocuted, actually.
Electrocuted.
We didn't really plan it out very well. We were kind of primitive in our ways of doing it. We plugged this thing into the wall, this chest plate I had on. With condoms filled with meat and blood. And it's just like flash pots on the chest, and we plugged it into the wall, which is the biggest mistake, because you don't need wall size, that much of a voltage to set off these things.
Yeah.
But I mean, it worked really well, but as soon as I hit the ground, I grounded out on it, and I started getting electrocuted. So I mean, this is also like an element of danger in the show. I mean, I like to keep that element of danger, because within all that, I mean, if there's an element of danger and fear within and that kind of intensity, that creates hope.
Yeah.
And some people might say we come across as being quite negative and down on things, but there's another philosophy that goes with that, in that within everything is a seed for its opposite.
Yeah.
So I mean, our shows are more of a kind of an assault on the senses in a lot of ways, kind of representing a really alienated spirit, which is myself, the persona of myself, which is very, very real within me, in a very subconscious way. So when I'm on stage, I'm actually more or less in a trance. It's gotten to the point now where I get in this trance, which is very fascinating. I mean, it's a fascinating evolution, whereas I used to be quite nervous going on stage and always thinking about what I have to do. It flows very smoothly now, and it is like a ritual. It's especially on this tour, we've done almost 50 shows now, and it's just you're constantly trying to work on working in between things in the music. So it's an always changing thing. I can't really describe our show to you because there is no real storyline in a sense.
You just have to go and see it for yourself.
Yeah. But it isn't. It has changed in the sense of last year. It's a lot less kind of. I mean, we don't really maintain that we're gothic. Although I used to be really into real gothic romanticism and stuff like that when I was younger. But it is a young person's field, that sort of literature and that sort of representing things. And I've just kind of, I think, gotten a little more mature in the way we present it. Although the intensity does seem to increase. Because we're dealing with things now that are more real. We want people to at times question what's happening on stage. Is that real or is it theater?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the direction I really want to take it.
Yeah. So it's definitely like a real theatrical performance, and a lot of bands just generally go up there and play. But
I mean, we play as well. I mean, there's two members of the band that are constantly playing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot more interesting for an audience. I mean, personally, that's what I'd want to go see. That's why we do this. Because personally, like, if I was to go see a band, I'd rather go out and see something a little different than just seeing a band play. I mean, there's times when it's great to see a band play too. There's no doubt about that. But we're just doing what we've always done and what we'll continue to do, and we'll continue to try and develop this concept because it's fascinating. It's really fascinating.
Now, getting back to some of your recorded works, the very first thing, in case there's any Skinny Puppy collectors out there, the first thing you guys released was a cassette called Back and Forth. Is that pretty much out of print? Or,
yeah, it's completely out of print. We just did 50 copies. We were all really broke, and we just wanted to get something out to see what kind of response there would be. And it was all recorded on 4-track, and we only released 50 copies of it. And we vowed that would be it. Although we have gone back and not remixed everything, but I guess kind of in a way remixed everything. Went back in the studio, whereas it wasn't done in the studio before. It was just mixed on a 4-track. Went back into the studio and put it through some bigger reverbs and things like that to give it a more spacious feel. But I don't think we'll ever do anything with it because it's really representative of a very different time, and I really think it should be kept that way.
Yeah. And the thing following that was the remission, and that seems to be a little hard to find. What type of representation would you say that was of Skinny Puppy?
That was a very drug-crazed time. For me, I mean, I was telling you, I was very, very destructive. I had a very horrible period of my life where the three things you hold on to most dearly: your family, your love of your life. I was married at the time to a girl who was 16, and my business. I had a company. I had this kind of small record distributor in Canada, which I started after I left high school, and they both crumbled to the ground. My father had died, and it was all kind of very incestuous. All these things were linked together in different ways, and they all crumbled. And so I really had no basis to continue. For about half a year, or even more, a year, there's nothing. There's nothing for me. I mean, it was a complete rebuilding process. It was like being born again, but born with all the knowledge, and all the cynicism, even more cynicism after that. So that was a very dark and brooding time for myself and for Kevin as well. I mean, he was going through some really strange stuff too. I mean, his mother died as well, and it's a lot of questioning. That's the reason it's called remission.
Yeah.
Standstill of conditions, more or less.
And the next LP that you came out with was Bites, which probably opened up the door for you a lot in terms of getting recognition. It did seem to get to most college radio stations and getting a lot of play in clubs. Could you notice a difference in between the early Skinny Puppy and
the biggest thing that I noticed is that we're very rushed with that album, unfortunately, and that's what really bothered me about it. Because I think we could have spent more time, and although I still think it's good, and I'm really happy with the work we put into it. There wasn't as much time to really work on it. You know, it was very rushed, and we came back, and it seems like, you know, that, and it wasn't anybody's fault, but at that time, again, money was very tight, and so when the money came along, you had to do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much, you know, you can take a year to do a record and really work on it. You know, we had 2 months to do it, you know, to really finish an album. So it was quite difficult on us, and again, that created a whole bunch of tensions as well. I just remember this being very, very tense the last week, especially when we were mixing it. We had a complete deadline, and that's, you know, that's where deadlines came from in a lot of ways. Although the actual song isn't about the deadlines, but it was really ironic because we had to come up with the song titles, or some of the song titles, like two. One was Last Call, and one was I think Deadlines.
Yeah.
Prior to the songs even being written, because the album cover art, you know, it's the business side of it again, really bothers me. Had to be in way before the album was finished. So it's just always, you know, these compromises we had to make on that album. I kind of feel.
Yeah. And then your latest release, your newest release, Mine, the Perpetual Intercourse. Do you feel more comfortable with this one?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think again you'll notice a real change in the next album, which we're going to be going back to record, which is going to be called Bin Scheiße. It's a German phrase. I don't know if I can say it over the air, but
okay. I'll trust you on that one.
Yeah. But it's going to be entirely different again. I think it'll be quite in contrast with my TPI. I really am happy with the way my voice is changing now, because I was basically a non-singer coming into this, and over the last 3 years, I mean, you really start to get a little more confident with your voice, and you want to try different things. I'm really happy in that sense with this album, because it's really given me, you know, a chance to really experiment with a whole bunch of different kind of vocal styles, as well as chainsaw as well, and I think the lyric writing's really improved as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I mean, it's the same with everything. I was happy with the bites, and I was really happy with the remission.
Yeah.
It's just time distances that, of course, you know.
Yeah. So now, how long does it take you to work up an LP? You said you were rushed for bites, and you say you feel fine about this one, and then you're already talking about going into recording another one. What going in writing material for an album? How long does it usually take you, and who's like maybe the prime contributors?
Pardon me?
Who's the prime contributors? I mean, is
to
it
writing the music?
Yeah.
Kevin writes most of the music. I jump in every once in a while, but I'm still kind of in the learning process of actually writing music and things like that. So Kevin's more or less instigator of the music, and I handle the lyrics and the singing. So it usually takes us. I mean, we'll see with this. I think we have 4 months to do it, which is fine, and that's more than enough time.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you generally record this stuff? Up in Vancouver?
Yeah, in Vancouver. This album, Mine TPI, was recorded, a lot of it on 16 track at home, which is a lot nicer than having to go into a studio where you're paying $45 an hour with a time schedule. You know,
Okay.
and that gets to be quite hairy as well when things aren't really working out. There's some nights when things just don't work out. You have to go back and just, you know, really look at it again. The next day, I mean, you hear it so many times that you just become oblivious to it.
Yeah. Now, you probably get this question a lot, but I just have to ask it. Where did you get the name Skinny Puppy?
There's a number of stories for that. One was Kevin was on tour with this other band, and he was outside a store with a bunch of little dogs, and he was going up and going, "Skinny Puppy, Skinny Puppy," things like that, and that's where it originally came from.
Okay.
And then when we first started, we wrote a song called Canine, and the lyrics were about a dog who always saw things at knee level, couldn't really speak up when his tail was stepped on, so it developed a bit of a philosophy in that sense. And he was in a house where there was all this perversion, you know, his master would beat his wife, and all these things that he saw at knee level, and couldn't really bite back, and he was always questioning to himself whether or not he should be subservient to his master or turn around and bite his head off.
Okay, and once again to remind everybody that you guys are playing live down at the Eastside Club.
Eastside Club, yeah.
And that's down in D.C., and I'm sure if anybody needs directions or anything, they can call up here to the station.
Yeah.
Also, the band that's opening up for you, Severed Heads, they're co-label mates.
Yes.
Can you give us a brief description of like a live show from them? I know we play them a lot.
Of the live show?
Yeah.
It's a video presentation as well as Tom on stage.
Uh-huh.
Tom Ellard, and he plays keyboards as well. It's quite interesting. They have a video synthesizer player with the video presentation, and he more or less affects the video. So it's quite interesting.
Okay. Now, what is the time schedule like for tonight? Do you know any idea what time you'd be going on stage?
I think Severed Heads are going on about 9,
Uh-huh.
and we'll go on probably 10:30, 11.
Okay, well, great. I appreciate you taking time out this afternoon to give us a call here.
All right.
And hope to see you. Hope to see a lot of people from Baltimore down at the Skinny Puppy Show at the East Side.
Yeah, come back and talk to us.
Okay, great. Now let's go back to Janet in the studio.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
I definitely appreciate it, and I'll be looking forward to meeting you later on.
All right.
Okay.
That's great. Take care of yourself, and DJ.
Okay, take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that was DJ Ennis with Skinny Puppy. And what we're going to do right now, since you can go see the show tonight, or if you can't make the show tonight, what I'll do is I'll give you a little taste of their new album. The album's called Mind the Perpetual Intercourse, as we just heard, and this tune's called 200 Years. You are in tune with WCVT 89.7 FM Towson.